Hey guys, Carl here, Cultivate with Carl, and it's time for another weekly garden update here at the old homestead. We're in Zone 9A on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, about 2 blocks away from the beach, and it is a wonderful Sunday here. It is partly cloudy in the upper 80s, almost 90 degrees. There's a nice breeze blowing, and it's a good day to be out in the garden. So what we're going to do today is we have a very short list to do today, and it all involves harvesting. So basically the beds here, if you can see, there's a lot of tomatoes going on. We're going to get the tomatoes that have basically started to ripen, and we're going to put them all in a bowl, and then we're going to flip a bunch of potato pots and go ahead and get those potatoes. As you hear Gunner over here choking on something he's probably not supposed to be eating. No, I'm sorry. That's Ruby, and she's eating stuff off the ground. Good job. That's Squirrel Patrol. You know, that's how they are. But anyway, we're going to flip some potato pots and get them emptied out. I think with the weather, so how this has gone so far, we have gotten a ton of tomatoes. I mean, just a ton. And I've resorted to giving them away because I can't eat them as fast as they're producing tomatoes. Part of that was the fact that I did overplant the beds a little bit. So I'm working on that, and I think in the fall I'll have a better grasp on how many plants to plant to get me an appropriate amount of tomatoes for me. But hey, guess what? You know, the people who received the tomatoes, they sure did like them. The tomatoes are popping. The potatoes are happening. Like we've gotten plenty of potatoes. Buckets and buckets. A little small, but edible. I'm not complaining about the number of potatoes that we've gotten because simply it's been a lot. They've just been a little bit smaller than I would have liked, and I think I kind of attribute that to the weather. It was cool at first, and then it just it stayed in a band of nice weather, and the plants matured toward the short end of their season. Like the early potatoes, they could mature anywhere from 58 to 90 days. And these, all my early potatoes were out of the ground probably by, day 65 or so, So, and they just weren't very big. But the plants were done. The plant tops had died off, and we were to that point they had to come out of the ground. So other things that have been productive, we did get a few squash. The vine borers did move in, and actually I've had a lot of great feedback in the comments about the vine borers, and I'll put in the name of a couple of the contributors there, but I got some really good info about the demise of my squash plants, and it was some damage due to vine borers, but like one of the viewers pointed out, that the butternut squash is not really as susceptible to the vine borers, and but those that on that part, my irrigation system had malfunctioned and they weren't watered for quite a while, and so the plants just dried out and stopped producing. So I've pulled all that out. The string beans are coming out. The Kentucky pole beans are coming out. They've produced a bunch. Now they're slowing down, but I'm just going to replant. So we're in the transition. This is the last of the fall garden. I imagine by July 4th, a lot of these tomato plants will come out. A lot of the determinate tomato plants will come out. And then as we move into the summer, I'm going to do some summer stuff. I'm actually going to try corn. I guess in the south here, we can grow corn like all summer long. I've never grown corn before, so I'm going to try it out and have to do some research on that. I'm going to plant some more watermelon seeds and some more cucumbers and more green beans. Except I'm going to try and find a variety that doesn't have the string in them, or as stringy as the Kentucky pole beans. Now, those Kentucky pole beans, man, those things are good when you stew them up and you cook them for a while. But when you're eating them just kind of blanched and or grilled, they do actually good on the grill. That string is pretty awesome. You got to overcome that thing, and I got to imagine there's a way to pick it that I just don't know. So that's what we're all about here on Cultivate with Carl, is learning and seeing as we go. So what we're going to do now, just like we do for every garden update, we're going to take a quick flyby of the beds. There's not a lot to see, to be honest with you. We're to the point now where we're sliding in between seasons, and there's just not a lot left in the garden. The main thing that's happening right now tomatoes and potatoes. Now, one thing, let me say this before we go to the flyby. I've been getting reports all in 9A along the Gulf Coast, and then in, I believe it's 9B or a lower 8, just north of the coast, that people are starting to find the caterpillar hornworms coming out at night using their UV light, and they're finding hornworms in their tomatoes. So, you know, it's probably time for you to step up your inspections and making sure your plants aren't getting torn up. I do have some bug damage, but not a lot. But we know how, I'm gonna go ahead and spray some BT again this evening, because you know what happened to us last time. Last time I said, oh, it's not gonna be that big a deal, and the army worms ate all my potato plants. So things are going well. We got a possum problem. The dogs were ripping off after the possum today. The possum was in my compost. So I can see in the compost where he dug out some food scraps that I put in there. So we're gonna have to have a possum relocation project. I'll probably have to get the PD to bring me one of the have heart traps, and I'll put something in there and trap his little butt. He's probably living under my shed, and then we'll get him relocated to somewhere he won't disturb. Actually, you know, I'll be honest with you, he really doesn't bother me as much as he bothers the squirrel patrol, as long as he stays out of the garden. And then have him rooting through the compost actually turns the compost, and I checked the heat on the temperature on the compost, and it was like 140. So, you know, maybe the little fella's earning his keep. I might let him stay. Who knows? We'll have another channel mascot. So we'll see what happens. But all right, let's get to that garden flyby and see what we got going on. Okay, guys, so we are going to start over here in the tomato beds. And so these are the indeterminate tomatoes, and something is wrong with them. They are not vigorous. Now, okay, back to the caveat. I am filming this at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So the plants are going to appear wilted. That's a reaction to the midday sun. Now, some of the plants look bad because they're not doing well, but for the most part, as soon as the sun goes down, these things will perk right back up and be good to go. So don't freak out on me. You know, I've been watering and stuff like that, but let's go back and talk to the indeterminate tomatoes. So the indeterminate tomatoes here, they should be much bigger than this, considering if you can look in direct comparison to the determinate tomatoes in the background. So those determinate tomato plants are, you know, 4 or 5 feet high. These indeterminates are barely 2 feet high. And I have a feeling it's got to do something with the soil. This was last year's soil. We did put some amendments in it in form of fertilizer and stuff, but we did not put any of the compost. Plus, if you notice, we did use wood chips as a mulch, which is great for maintaining moisture, but we may have a problem at the soil line with it soaking up a lot of our nitrogen. So last week I did give these an infusion of some food, and I'm going to do it again next Monday. So next Monday they'll get another shot of some liquid fertilizer, and then we'll see what happens from there. So indeterminates, I'll probably do a soil test, check out the pH level and stuff also. This is the determinate bed, and these are Garden Leader Monster tomatoes. These are a Ferry Morse product right here. I love these tomatoes. They do great. I do believe it is also an indeterminate that crept its way into my determinate bed. Over here we have Florida 91s, a smaller plant, but it's putting out a lot of good tomatoes, a lot of good sized tomatoes right there. And then as we get over here, we've got Celebrities. And then this is part of that Bush Goliath, and we'll see more of the Bush Goliath on the other side. So right here, I had a couple of sunflowers. They kind of fell over, and they're getting ready to get pulled to go to the compost. And then these are Celebrities. So, but you can see how big the bushes got, and I did not support them well. I did not plan on them getting that big and top heavy, to be honest with you. So by the time I planted these, I was like, the tomato cages will be fine. And then the bushes got monsters. I bought this plant and that plant from the store, and they were planted well ahead of everybody else. But you can see the tomatoes are still ripening, And yeah, I've got plenty of tomatoes, so I'm not changing nothing on this. What's going to happen is once these tomatoes ripen, I'm pulling the plants and we're going to clear the beds. For this plant right here, I do not think this wilt is water related. I do not know why, but between the two plants here, there was a bunch of wilt between the two plants. I do not know if that's a bacterial wilt or if that is just something having to do with overcrowding, and that could possibly be. But as you can see, I'm getting good tomatoes. They're good looking tomatoes. There's one of them garden monsters over there. The birds have been leaving them alone because I've been picking them before they ripen. And I had one, the birds hollowed out, and that was about it. Over here, you can look at all the cherry tomatoes that I've got. Tons of cherry tomatoes coming off today. I'll be doing a good chickpea salad with these. Little chickpeas with some cherry tomatoes. These are Sun Sugar cherry tomatoes right here. Now, the reason why the plants, they look all cleared out is I went in and I trimmed the bottoms off the plants. I cleared out a lot of the branches that were near the bottom so I could get some air circulation in there. And what I can tell you for sure this year, hang on, let me flip you around. Okay, so what I can tell you this year about the tomatoes, since I've invested in the drip irrigation system, the in-ground drip irrigation system, I have not had problems, knock on wood, with you know, the mold, with the spots on the leaves and all that kind of stuff. And I believe that's because I'm not getting water splash and soil splash onto the tomato plants. And this year, as compared directly to last year, the drip irrigation for the tomatoes has paid off big time. I've had a lot less problems with God, the name of it's escaping me. But I'll, like I said, I'll just put it in 1, 2, 3. Whatever that is, I had less problem with it this year. And I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy with the tomatoes. I'm gonna spin you back around. If you look at the tomatoes overall, they're good. You know, especially the cherry tomatoes. Man, I love cherry tomatoes. And then over here we've got a lot of good determinants. And then, you know, of course, the problem with the indeterminates. So we're gonna take a walk around the edge now because there's not much left other than that. So hang on, let's go to the side. Okay, if you look over here, our sweet potatoes are doing good. They were fed some fertilizer. I'm going to get in there and pull weeds, but if you can see, they're expanding beyond the boundaries of the bed, which is kind of crazy. So I'm going to go over there and get those vines off the air conditioner, and then I'm going to put some cardboard barrier over there to hopefully prevent them from getting. But if they take over this whole area, I don't really care, to be honest with you. This first bed had carrots in it. I harvested the carrots. I ate some, and I gave some away. What I believe I'm going to do is transplant 2 of these Black Beauty eggplants. I'm going to fill this up from the compost bin, the completed compost, and then I'm going to transplant 2 of those Black Beauties into there. So I'll have 2 pots with Black Beauties, and pretty soon I'll be having eggplants. These are some of those bunching onions. I'm getting ready to pull all those out. These are bunching onions. And here are the jalapenos. Check out the jalapenos. They're cracking, so I'm gonna go ahead and clip these and go ahead and eat them. Those will be good. I've got some bell pepper here, some California Wonder bell peppers. They produce plants but haven't produced bell peppers yet. I believe this is a Florida 91. Let me see. Tomato. Oh, this is one of the Creole tomato plants, and it's doing wonderfully. So you can see the difference too. This plant's not as wilted because it's been in the shade. Here's all my flowers. I do love these flowers. Okay guys, crazy thing happened while we were filming. My camera cut off because it was too hot. So that should let you know how warm it is out here. Definitely having an effect on the plant. So where we picked up, there's onions bulbing. They're still doing their thing. Here's another Creole tomato indeterminate, supposed to be heat resistant. And then here are my flowers. They've looked better, but you know, they're hanging in there still. I like sunflowers, I really do. So these guys look like they're ready for some time off. This is another one of those Creole tomatoes. And then over here we have the gypsy peppers. The gypsy peppers are doing really well. That space right there is where the tomatoes were. Here's some more jalapenos, and I'm about to spread all these out, but these are a combination of pepper and tomato plants. There is the Squirrel Patrol, all hot. We have tomato plants. That is a tomato plant. Of which variety, I have no idea. Those are red onions. Another tomato plant. And then way down there, that's the lima beans and cucumber plant that's pretty much dead. So as you can pan around, you can see a lot of the beds are empty. This bed is about to be empty. I'm going to let the lima beans go a little bit. I'm going to pick them, though I have to look up on the YouTube and see when do you pick them. They got a lot of pods on them, but they're not snap peas or anything like that. They're lima beans. So I don't know if you got to wait till they get big or whatever. Hopefully the watermelon plant will do. I'm about to clear this bed out right here. This was the Kentucky pole beans, and so they're about to get cleared out. I'm going to replant cucumbers in there. So that is about it. A little walk around the garden. Everybody's hot. Look at the dogs. It ain't even summer yet. Yeah, not even summer, and it is hot out here. So let's go take a look at the produce. While the camera was cooling off, I actually picked all the produce. Now let's go see what we got. Okay guys, here under the shade of the back porch, you can see here now, these were by far the most prolific potatoes. These are German butterballs. I found the German butterball tag in the bucket, and you can see they were plentiful, but they didn't get big. And you would be like, well, Carl, you should have left them in longer. However, the plants on top were dead. And, I feel that probably in between the soil type that I had them in and the watering pattern that I had them on, I probably stunted their growth a little bit. Maybe the weather too. Now in here, you can see like these big honkers right there. Those are actually, normal potatoes, like Idaho potatoes. I'm forgetting the word for them. But they were in a couple of buckets. I only had 2 pounds of seed potatoes for them, and I only got a few back. There was a few rotten in the bucket, but their watering regimen was a little bit more consistent, and so therefore they got to full size. But you can pick them out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're the ones that look a little bit more muddy. And so that's okay. So those are good baked potatoes. And then this was the tomato haul for today. So not too bad. But, am I disappointed with this? Heck no, I'm not. Because you know why? You take these and you cube them up or you mash them up. You're going to make some fine potatoes. You take these, you roast them. You put them, you clean them, wash them off, throw a little olive oil on them, throw them in the air fryer, or throw them on the grill with some other stuff, and good to go. Plus, I got some baked potatoes out of that. And I had a hoop of red potatoes. So the red potatoes, did really, really well this year. So I'm very satisfied with that. Let me get you all stable here. So all in all, I think we did, look on with dirt. That's funny. Getting dirty in the garden. So all in all, I think we did really good as far as potatoes this year. I think I'll have to pay attention a little bit more to the soil and the watering content and before I get them down. So I think, so all in all with the potatoes, I think I did pretty good this year. I'm pretty happy with the yield. However, the size, isn't that always? You get a lot of it, but they're small. What the heck? I think my mistake this year was in the soil content and relying on that soil conditioner from the tree nursery. And then I mixed it, probably not with enough compost. The beds that have compost in them, I'm looking at them now, are doing far better than the ones that had a lot of the soil from the store in them. So there you go. I'm going to work on creating more good compost and just work on the health of my beds. I will probably do some soil testing. I bet my pH balances are a little wackadoo or something like that. But, tomato production is good, looking good. I got a couple that look like they have blossom end rot, but not all of them, which is odd. So I don't know if it's, my watering's been consistent, and I've been feeding them, so I don't know. So we'll see. Let's see. But that's it for me. It's Carl here from Cultivate with Carl. Sweating my buns off and enjoying a good day out in the wonderful Zone 9A South Mississippi weather. Trying to condition myself to get ready for summer. But as always, guys, get a hobby. You know, it's fun doing stuff like this. I even have more fun when I go to the grocery store and I get to pass up buying tomatoes and buying potatoes and cucumbers because I already have them in the refrigerator at the house from the garden. So, you know, there's a benefit to doing this. I really enjoy it. So give me a good thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. And check back next week for another garden update. I believe by next week we are going to be planting some summer vegetables, or we're going to be planning the planting of the summer vegetables. So check back and see how that turns out. So it's Carl and the Squirrel Patrol. We're signing off here from Cultivate with Carl. And as always, get yourself a hobby.